Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back another video day, and today we're going to be talking about the San Antonio Spurs potentially trading for John Collins. There was a article on Bleacher Report earlier today talking about a potential trade that could push the San Antonio Spurs into the playoffs. Currently, the San Antonio Spurs are 19 and 20, almost halfway through the season at the 12 seed. No playoffs, you got to be a top 6 seed, but you can also be a play-in team being a 10 through 7 seed. Right now, the Kings are the 9 seed at 20 and 20, so it doesn't take too much to get back in to the top 10 or the top 8 for that matter, or top 9, since the Kings are 20 and 20 at the ninth spot. So, yeah, John Collins was the player that Bleacher Report was talking about for a potential trade to help the San Antonio Spurs make a playoff push. And let's talk about the trade that it would be to get John Collins to San Antonio. It'd be John Collins and the San Antonio Spurs. I wouldn't call him a legend, but a San Antonio Spurs OG, Patty Mills, back to San Antonio. And the Jazz would receive backup big Zach Collins, backup point Trey Jones, a Charlotte protected first round pick for 2025. I think it's 2025. And then a second round pick in 2025 that belongs to Chicago, and a 2026 second rounder that actually belongs to the Utah Jazz. So 2 seconds, a first, and Trey Jones with Zach Collins for John Collins and Patty Mills. John Collins this year has played 27 games with 18 starts, 30 minutes per game. He's shooting 52% from the floor, a career best 43.8% from three. He's averaging 18 points per game and 8 rebounds per game in only 30 minutes per game. John Collins also this season has killed the San Antonio Spurs. 2 games against the Spurs, 18, 14, and 3, and 20, 13, and 3 in his 2 games against the Spurs this year, going all the way back to like October or November, something like that. Patty Mills, let's go over what he's done this year. He's a Spurs legend. Won a championship with Spurs. Spent many seasons with them. 10 seasons with the Spurs. Played 665 games with the Spurs. But he's a very old player now. He's almost 40. He's 36 years old. Turns 37 in August. He's played 14 games this year, 16 minutes per game. He shot 35% from the floor, 30% from 3, with 5 points per game and 1 rebound per game, almost 2 assists per game, with 1 steal per game. Keep in mind, Patty Mills, even though he's had a tough year, even had a tough 2023-24 season, is a career, even though with his bad shooting in the last couple seasons, from the floor and from 3, is still shooting 39% from 3 in his career. With San Antonio during 10 years with the Spurs, shot 39% from 3 with the Spurs, average in 10 seasons, 9 points per game off the bench. Most of his time was off the bench with the Spurs, 9 points per game. He averaged 2 rebounds per game, almost 3 assists per game, was really good defensively for the Spurs, and 665 games over 10 years. So I think that would be a nice reunion, and I will predict this. I do think if this trade were to happen, if John Collins and Patty Mills were to potentially go to San Antonio, after the season, I think Patty Mills would probably retire from the NBA and end his career with the San Antonio Spurs, where it all started, or not where it all started, but where his best basketball was. He had his first 2 years were in Portland, then the majority of his career was in San Antonio. 10 years in San Antonio after his first 2 in Portland, then 2 years in Brooklyn, and then just a bunch of stints after that with Atlanta, Miami, Utah, and now potentially another team if he gets traded. And then, so let's go over the players that would be headed to Utah alongside the first round draft pick and the 2 second round picks. Trey Jones, who has played 21 games this year, is shooting 45% from the floor in 16 minutes per game. He's also shooting a total of a second career lowest 26% from 3, averaging 4 points per game and 4 assists per game. But keep in mind, Trey Jones had, in the 2 previous seasons, 2 really good seasons. Last year, 77 games, 48 starts, 28 minutes per game, 50% from the floor, 34% from 3. He averaged 10 points per game, 6 assists per game, a steal per game. Then 2022-23 season, 68 games, 65 starts, 29 minutes per game. From the floor, shot 46%. From three, shot not so great, 29%. And he averaged 13 points per game, 7 assists per game, 1.5 steals per game, and 4 rebounds per game. So 2 really solid seasons for Tre Jones last year and then in the 22-23 season. Now, Zach Collins. Also, wait, back to Tre Jones real quick. Keep in mind, he's still really young, still 25 years old, even though he's been in the league for 4-5 seasons now. But Zach Collins would be another player involved in this trade. And he's also, I would say he's also kind of young for how long he's been in basketball. He's 27 years old and has been in the NBA since the 2017-18 season. He's 27 years old and has been in the NBA for 8 years now. He's been playing the NBA since he was 18, 19 years old. So, yeah. But Zach Collins this year, 30 games, 4 starts, 13 minutes per game, shooting 45% from the floor, 27% from 3, 5 points per game, 3 rebounds per game, 2 assists per game, half a block and a half a steal per game. So it hasn't been a great year for Zach Collins, but look at the prior years before for him. Have been good years, 69 games, 29 starts last year and 22 minutes per game, 48% from the floor, 32% from 3, 11.2 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, 3 assists per game, 1 block per game, half a steal per game. 22-23 season, he played 63 games with 26 starts, 23 minutes per game, 52% from the floor, 37% from 3, 12 points per game, 6.5 rebounds per game, 3 assists per game, almost 1 steal per game, and 1 block per game. So, sure, it's been tough years for guys like Zach Collins and Tre Jones, who would be headed to Utah in this deal, but the 2 previous seasons before that, both of those guys were playing some really good basketball. Let me know your thoughts on this potential trade. I think both teams would be down to do it. I know John Collins has some value and is a really good player, but for the Jazz to get some nice draft capital like a first-round pick and 2 seconds, and then also, even though they're kind of struggling a little bit, get 2 players who've had solid careers alongside that. I think it's definitely a solid trade for them. I don't see a world why or how San Antonio would reject this trade. And I don't think this trade would be offered to them. I think if someone's going to be offering this deal, it's going to be San Antonio offering it to Utah. So this trade can definitely happen if San Antonio calls up Utah. I don't see why Utah wouldn't do this deal. Getting the draft capital and getting the solid players. Let me know your thoughts on the potential trade in the comment section, and peace out.